Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Norse starting rosters. We are looking at all the teams in Blood Bowl 2020, whether they are in the rulebook or whether, like the Norse team, they are in the Teams of Legend PDF that Games Workshop has released. Now, Norse were an absolute powerhouse in Blood Bowl 16, and they haven't changed much, so let's get started having a look at league rosters for your Norse team. So let's look at the key changes for the Norse team in this edition. Passing got a little worse, but that's exactly in line with every other team in Blood Bowl 2020. So linemen went down to passing 4+, berserkers to passing 5+, same with the catchers. Ulfwereners and the Yeti lose passing completely. So within that, let's have a look at the individual positions very, very quickly. So the Yeti is a bit of a beast when it comes to big guys. Definitely up there in the top ones. The other big guys in the game have got boosted, so the Yeti is left a little bit behind. 140k, movement 5, which is decent, strength 5, which is very decent, agility 5+, which is absolutely fine and what you expect from big guys. However, with the changes to break tackle, that means the best the Yeti is going to get is a 3+ dodge, which is not as good as those big guys who have agility 4+, so like the rat ogre, the minotaur, and the ogre itself. The Yeti has no passing and armor 9+. Armor 9+ is absolutely fine. Could be 10, but 9 is good. Now, the upside of this Yeti is that it comes with claws. So it is breaking armor on the roll of an 8, no matter what happens. The downside to that is that it no longer stacks with Mighty Blow. So the very cool thing about the Yeti, it used to be able to go claws because it starts with claws and then get Mighty Blow immediately on the first skill, and it became an absolute murder machine. That is going to be toned down ever so slightly, but what it does mean is that when it gets Mighty Blow, it is just going to add that +1 to the injury roll rather than breaking armor. It also comes with Disturbing Presence, which means when you put it on the line, it basically passing gets worse within 3 squares. Also has Frenzy, so you are making twice the blocks with Frenzy and Claws. With Loner 4+ is exactly average for a big guy, and it comes with Unchanneled Fury, which as far as negatrates go isn't too bad. Basically, it's if you want to block or blitz something, it's a 2+, otherwise it's a 4+. If it fails, it just screams into the air, doesn't lose its tackle zone. So the Yeti is an absolute solid piece and is really one of the coolest things about this team. I'm just going to check that wild animal, Unchanneled Fury. Yep, their activation ends immediately. Good, they do keep their tackle zones. I had worries that I was going to get that wrong. Anyway, so the Ulfwereners are just, in my opinion, the best pieces on this team. The Yeti is amazing, do not get me wrong, but the Ulfwereners are 105k apiece. Movement 6, strength 4, agility 4+, passing nothing, AV 9+, which is good, and frenzy with general and strength on normal skills. So they are strength 4 frenziers, okay? They make brilliant blitzers and they make brilliant linebackers and safeties. So whether you're offense or defense, the Ulfwereners are going to be really key pieces. Movement 6 is fast enough, and strength 4 and frenzy is going to mean that they are going to be basically 2-die blocking based whoever you want to hit. So I'm going to be focusing on getting those into the list. Outside of that, this team has got quite a few positionals. So the catchers are movement 7, and that's their biggest angle here. Is the Norse catchers are 90k, movement 7, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 5+, and armor 8+ with block and dauntless. So the catchers with movement 7 are kind of the best ball carriers in this game, and they play a dual role of essentially being a very controlled dwarf slayer, block and dauntless. So they will be zipping around at movement 7, and they come with agility in general as well, so they are 1 skill up away from becoming blodgers. So they get a couple of touchdowns, they get blodge, and then you've got a blodger with dauntless. So basically you've got movement 7 to move the ball and score, and then you've got dauntless. So if your Ulfwereners go down and your Yeti goes down, and you need to have a crack at somebody who is of higher strength, shall we say, then you get a really good shot with Dauntless here. So they kind of perform dual roles. You've also got the Berserkers, who are 90k, movement 6, strength 3, 3+ agility, 5+ passing, 8+ armor, block, frenzy, and jump up, general, and strength on a stat. So these guys tend to be your blitzers. However, you've got the Ulfwereners with frenzy, and a 2-die frenzy block is better than a 1-die frenzy block with block, marginally. We ran the stats on the podcast. So the Ulfwereners take priority, in my opinion, over the Berserkers, even though they don't get block to start with. Berserkers, however, are fantastic when they get rolling, and jump up really helps them, because if they go down because they've frenzied too much, they can still make a block from prone. So they stay in use and utility. Talking of use and utility, we do have a thrower positional on this team. I realise I've left him off the key changes here. So the Norse thrower is 70k, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 3+, armor 8+, block and pass, and gets general and passing. This team has got 60k rerolls. This team has got a lot of expensive positionals. When it comes to league, the thrower is far less important than most of your other positionals. The Ulfwereners make great bruisers. Okay, strength 4 frenzy, they're going to do a lot of work. The Yeti, strength 5 frenzy, he's going to do a lot of work. You've got Berserkers, who have got block, frenzy, jump up. They are going to be kind of your second string blitzers. The Catchers, where they have movement 7 and block. Alright, they've got Dauntless as well as like a freebie skill. Movement 7, agility 3+ with block makes them fantastic runners. So while they're called Catchers, they are your ball movers. The thrower comes into play later on, I think. So we're not going to focus on the thrower too much. It seems like an odd fit for this team. In general, the shtick with this team is that they are low armor, so 8+, but they all come with block. So they are the block version of the Amazon team. But this team got juiced up with some really interesting positionals with the strength 4 Ulfwereners and the strength 5 Yeti. Anyway, now we've done the team brief, let's look at some of the rosters you could take in your league. We're going to get this one done really quickly because I want to cover it, but I know there's going to be a lot of Norse fans out there, Nobby Knobs, who is going to be angry at this point. Potentially berserk frenzy level of angry. So if you do not take the Yeti to start with, you will save 140k. What that will allow you to take is 2 Ulfwereners, who are your strength 4 frenzy pieces, 2 Catchers, who are your movement 7 block ball carriers, 2 Berserkers, who are your block frenzy kind of semi blitzers, 5 linemen, and 3 rerolls. So what this misses is the strength of the Yeti, but what it gains is 2 movement 7 pieces and 4 frenzy pieces with 3 rerolls to hopefully keep you out of dodge. So this is what I would probably call the fast Norse build, okay? Everything's movement 6 with the exception of the 2 Catchers who are movement 7, so it's not really fast, but it is the fastest of the Norse builds, making the most of those Catchers. If you take this one in league, you develop your Catchers very quickly to become blodgers. Everybody else just murders stuff. The Ulfwereners get block, then maybe mighty blow. You know, your Berserkers get mighty blow or tackle. You've got a whole bunch of very useful pieces who are basically one step away from being great blitzers no matter what skill you take on them. So if you want to go the No Yeti build, you do get everything else, and then all you got to do is save up 140k to drop in that Yeti and really jump up the strength rankings. However, let's move on to the Yeti build because this is where the fun starts. So we've got a Yes Yeti build here, 970, 1 Yeti, 2 Ulfwereners, 1 Catcher, 7 linemen, and 3 rerolls. So the reason I've gone for this roster is you get the Yeti. So the Yeti is going to be on your line or playing just a little bit back as a linebacker because Wild Animal makes it a reasonable kind of blitzer. If you want to blitz with it, it's 2+. Could fail. You've got 2 Ulfwereners who can blitz instead, and they don't need to roll, and they are strength 4. So you've got 3 strong pieces here, all with frenzy, so you've got to be very careful how you play it. You still get 1 Catcher, that's 1 movement 7 piece, and you do really want to develop him into a blodger, because at that point, movement 7 blodger, you've got a really good opportunity to create a scoring threat. You get 7 linemen here and 3 rerolls. 2 things to mention. This team with this amount of strength and frenzy, regardless of whether you go the Yes Yeti or the No Yeti build, guard is going to become a premium. Now it's double on alignment, so they're going to save up and they probably never get it. But what you do is you have a mixture of strength pieces. So the Ulfborners, the Berserkers, and the Yeti all get strength on a normal. So spread your skills between combat skills, getting the Ulfs block, and getting stuff guard to keep them safer. And then hunt in packs, which I feel is very, very appropriate. The twist you can give with this roster is if you don't want the movement 7 of the catcher, you can drop it and you get to replace it with another lineman and an apothecary. And the reason I'd like to talk about that is because this roster, as we've seen, has pretty low armor. Now the Yeti and the Ulfborners armor 9+, so they're pretty resilient. But having the apothecary to keep them alive may not be a bad thing in the league, because the Ulfborners are 105k and the Yeti is 140. So altogether that's 350k's worth of your team. So dropping a catcher and taking an apothecary to keep one of those pieces alive in a league is definitely worth considering. It's up to you whether you want to buy the apothecary afterwards, because you only need 20k. It all depends on that first game, whether you're going to risk it or not, and I will leave that to you. Now, Norse are a team where they've got a lot of block and they've got a lot of strength. They also have a lot of frenzy, so if you are planning on playing well and playing cleverly with your frenzy and leaning on block and leaning on your strength, you may be able to squeeze in a roster that only has 2 rerolls to start. Now, the benefit of that is you get the Yeti and you get both Ulfs right from the beginning without having to sacrifice any of your catchers. So you get 1 strength 5 frenzy murder god, 2 strength 4 linebacker weapons, think Terry Tate but on the Blood Bowl pitch but with hair, and you get 2 movement 7 catchers who are going to end up blodgers real quick. 6 linemen rounds out to 11 players, 2 rerolls, and the apothecary there is going to keep 1 of your 5 great positionals alive. It's just about whether or not you are able to play well enough. You've got 3 high strength frenzy pieces, so if you're careful with those, you could use block on your team to be able to only ever make the blocks you need to make. Norse is a relatively safe team because they've got the strength and they've got the block. Maneuvering the ball is one of the angles, and if you can play your strength and block well, you can save those rerolls just to do stuff with the ball. And that will allow you to use that extra cash at the beginning to start with your apothecary, and really then you can consider saving up 120 to pick up the 3rd reroll, or just add players. It's entirely up to you. It's not the best, but there are going to be players out there who can pull this roster off really well, and to start out with, it's going to be a really powerful team. And I mean, it's very similar to the other one. You drop a catcher into a lineman, drop the apothecary, take that 3rd reroll, and you've got the Yes Yeti build basically. Now, the thing is with Norse, there are a load of positionals, too many in my opinion. I don't think they're necessary. I think the ones we're looking at are great, and then you've got those berserkers. The thrower is probably more useful in tournaments where you can spend the 20k to take it over a lineman and then use a single to pick up leader, saving you cash for all the great murder pieces that this team has got. Norse has a lot of variety when it comes to builds, and it will be down to you to choose the more fun ones, but these 3 are probably the ones I would go with, or I would look at first in Blood Bowl 2020. Let's look at some toys. And first up, we've got the Games of North team from Fanath. So this was a Kickstarter, and it is it's cool, it's different. It is Game of Thrones themed, essentially. That was how they did this Kickstarter, and there was an undead version and a living version. This picture is of the living version, and the cool thing about this team is it's exactly the same price as every third-party team. It is €80, and €80 gets you 16 players. So what do? You get the 2 wolves, and then you get a whole bunch of human positionals, and the Yeti is represented by a giant. It is a very cool team, and I cannot recommend Fanath enough. I've linked it in the video bits below. The berserkers look awesome. I love the Nordic giant, and the Nordic men are very cool. So you get a variety of different guys who you can paint up and choose to be your positionals. €80, same as every other third-party team. But it's quite a cool theme. And if you want to bump up an extra €5, you can have a look at the Fenrir Sons team from Hungry Troll. So these have got some of the better sculpts I've ever seen. The Yeti is hunched over and quite stylized, and actually looks very similar to the Blood Bowl 2 version. In fact, this team is probably the one I found that is closest to Blood Bowl 2. So if you're a big BB2 fan, this is your Norse team, guys. €85 will get you 1 Yeti, 2 Blitzers, Berserkers, 2 Catchers, 2 Wolfmen, Ulfwarners, 2 Throwers, and 7 linemen with some marker sets and stuff like that as well. So if you want a complete Norse team, you've got loads of cool options. And I don't know, it's a pretty tough one. It depends on your theme style. If you want something that looks like BB2, Fenrir Sons. If you're interested in a Game of Thrones style one, the Fanath one is actually pretty cool. But the great thing about the Norse team is there's a lot of customizability here. The Warcry bands that have been released by Games Workshop, I've seen a couple of those customized and using them to be your Norse team. The only thing I will say is because there is Catcher, Blitzer, Catcher, Berserker, Thrower, Lineman. There's 4 positionals that are the same look, so make sure you make them different. Plus you've got the Ulfwarner and the Yeti, who should be pretty evidently different. So a lot of positionals in the Norse team, so make sure that your opponent knows exactly what they are. And you do as well, because that would be very embarrassing. Alright, time to wrap it up for Norse. It is a heck of a team. I am really glad they're back. I am sad they've still got too many positionals. You just don't need the thrower at all. I could be wrong. I got in trouble for the Amazon thrower, and that's probably fair, actually. Norse's strength is block, and frenzy, and strength, and good agility, but average armor. It is a really good team. It will not win 3-0 as quickly as elf teams, but it will beat the heck out of your opponents. As a Skaven coach, I've hated every game I've played against Norse ever. In fact, I lost against them in the finals of one of our leagues. So, Norse lost points with me there. The Yeti is a superb big guy. The nerf to its agility with break tackle and the nerf to its combo between claws and mighty blow have stopped it from being one of the top big guys. But strength 5 claws frenzy is still really, really good, especially when you free roll it. Disturbing presence as well, which will be overlooked by your opponent. Norse are a really cool team. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do modeling wise with them, and they've got a remarkably unique play style. It's not boring, it is often quite risky, and if you play it well, it's probably one of the teams I see jump in power for skill. So if you've got a very good Norse coach, the team will perform way better than its stats say. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of Norse in Blood Bowl 2020. If you think they're going to play any differently, how terrified you are of playing them, and yes, Nobby Knobs, how much you love the Yeti. I'm going to disappear, and we'll be back again soon, guys, with some more Blood Bowl content. Thanks very much for watching.